Hey everyone, Pete here from Northern Works. A few months ago we were throwing away our Christmas tree and one of my sons said, well, why don't we make something out of this? And I thought, yeah, sure, why not? You see, in the UK every year we throw away more than 8 million Christmas trees, and I thought, surely there's something better we can do with ours. Further up the tree you get, there's more of these needles and they stick right in your fingers. Right, let's put the trunk to one side for a minute and focus on the seats themselves of the stool. Now, originally I was going to make just one stool in a sort of rustic style, you know, really keeping the bark on the trunk and the seat. But let's raise the stakes. Let's see if we can make 2 stools out of this Christmas tree, maybe a little bit of extra wood as well. One in that kind of rustic style, think Sebastian Cox, that kind of thing. And one a little bit more modern, a little bit more contemporary. It's a tall order. Anyway, first things first, we need to get most of the bark off this with a chisel. Right, let's cut this thing in half. Right, I don't have a bandsaw, and I definitely don't trust the circular saw on this setup, but I think with a handsaw, we should be all right. Well, it definitely would have been quicker with a bandsaw, but I am pretty impressed with how cleanly that's come out with the old handsaw. One thing I've noticed though is that this wood is still pretty damp on the inside, so I'm going to leave that to dry probably for about another week. And while I do, I'll move on to the legs. For the legs, I've got 2 options: the Christmas tree trunk, as you know, but the other one, wait, the other one is, for the first time ever, I'm going to be working with hardwood. This is ash, and I'm really excited. This is going to be for the more contemporary, modern one. But I'm going to start with the Christmas tree legs. This trunk isn't quite long enough to get 3 good-sized legs, and actually I think it would look a bit weird anyway, because you'd have one really thick, chunky leg and then one really kind of weedy, spindly one. So I think what I'm actually going to do is I'm probably going to take this top section and cut it in half down the middle, and then this section I'll use just on its own. And I reckon we can make this look quite nice, you know. I think it can look quite refined. Cut this piece in half. I've made this sort of sled for my circular saw, just out of some plywood, and I'm hoping that this will just give me enough of a guide. I'm not trying to cut all the way through it, I just want to score it and know that it's straight, so then I can come back and finish it with the handsaw. It is sketch as. That's not bad, you know. like how this wood is turning out, you know, just how like random it is. And especially I've got now this 3 legs. I have no idea how I'm going to turn these into legs, but they look amazing. I've got those cut. I need to actually cut the tenons that'll go into the stool seat themselves. Bad news about the stool seats though, that's the other thing. You know, I was leaving them to dry for 2 weeks. Well, this is what happens when you leave already cracked and split pine on a shelf for 2 weeks to dry. Those cracks got bigger, they've made these massive holes. So I need to work out what I want to do about those. Do I turn this into some sort of like epoxy table type situation? Or is there some way I can work this out using just wood and still get a really nice, clean and stable and secure look? Maybe it'll be sort of bow ties, something like that, but I'll need to see if that'll be stable. But I really want this to work. I really want these stools to be nice. All right, while I'm working out what to do about the stool seats, I need to crack on with the legs for the rustic Christmas tree stool. I've measured how thick the actual seat is going to be, so I know how long my through tenons need to be. And I also need to work out how to just trim them so that I get a sort of subtle 10 degrees of splay and leave the bark facing on the inside. I'm not sure this will be the most accurate joinery ever, but at least they'll all be equally inaccurate. Right, that's the Christmas tree legs done. It's time to get started on these ash legs. The other thing that I've spent this time doing is making the template for my legs, my ash legs for the more modern stool. So I'm really pleased with how that's turned out. It's just some 12mm plywood, a bit of sanding, a bit of shaping, and then what I'll do is I'll take my big ash already pre-planed blocks. I can transfer the template where the grain is looking kind of the strongest or the prettiest, and then I can batch out 3 legs pretty quickly, I think. Alright, I've marked these up with the template and I'm going to rough cut them with the jigsaw. I don't want to go all the way to the final piece because I'll route that with the router later in a template bit. While I've been doing these legs, I've also been thinking about what to do about these stool tops. And I think what I've landed on is for the stool that is made out of the Christmas tree trunk, I definitely don't want to use any epoxy in that. I want to keep that as natural as possible. So I'm going to use some bow tie inlays just to keep the cracks from developing anymore. And then on the other one, I'm going to go for a very classic and subtle black epoxy. If I can get close to sort of Blacktail Studio level, I'll be really happy. That's what I'm aiming for. Something classic, subtle, you know, not over the top, really working with the grain of the wood, working with the cracks, not really against them. Right, so I've rough cut all of my legs and the stringers for the stool. Honestly, one of the most laborious jobs I think I've ever done. The jigsaw just isn't a great tool for that. So, lessons learned. But now I need to clean these up and I'm going to use the router with a template bit, which should just make everything nice and flush. While I've got the router out, I can cut in the insets for the bow ties. Well, I don't think they're the cleanest bow ties you'll ever see, but I can clean them up with some chisels and they'll do the job. I'm well impressed with that. Leave those to dry and then come back and clean up the top. Right, these bow ties are dry, so I'm going to clean those up with plane and then start sanding this down. And then I still need to put the resin in the other one. So that's this weekend's job, is get all of these things tidied up, finished off, get the ends of these Christmas tree legs tidied up, and get these stools assembled quickly. Those stool tops all sanded now with quite a lot of help from Max, as you saw. Let's get the epoxy poured and then we can get the legs on. I was a bit worried that I was going to set on fire. Well, these legs have been drying for a day or two and they're good and solid, these stringers. So now I need to do the layout and mark up the joinery on these stringers so that they're just a nice set of 3 legs, and then I can clean up the final edges, sand them all up, ready for fitting to the epoxy top. Well, the joinery definitely needs a bit of finessing, but these legs are ready for sanding, and then we can get everything fitted up. I'm going to put a chamfer along the bottom of the stool edge and then a round over along the top. If you want to see how I made this router table, I'll link to that video below. Alright, I've got both of the stool tops done, I've got all the legs cut, and these ones are finished. I've even cut some stringers out of some pine dowels. We are ready to assemble. Can't wait to get these done. I've cut mortises into both of the stool tops, and to attach the legs I'm going to use wedge tenons, which means I'm going to cut a relief channel into all of these tenons. Drill a little hole to make sure it doesn't split at the end, and then I can drive a wedge in after I've assembled everything, and that's going to expand that tenon into the mortise and fill it out, get a really good bond with the glue, and make these super strong. What a journey that's been, getting these 2 stools built. It's taken way longer than I expected, and I've used a ton of new techniques that I didn't think I would need on this project, if I'm totally honest. I guess the question is, which is my favourite? Well, I like them both, to be honest. I really like how you can see the connection to the source materials in this one. The Christmas tree really shines through, and I think it's come out pretty nicely. I'm not sure it's going to sit in the living room, but it'll definitely find a place as a workshop stool. And the blackleg stool, well, it's just class, isn't it? Like, I love the contrast between the black legs and the stool top. I like that you can still see some of the source materials, but it's just been elevated a bit. And do you know what? We might end up using this as a side table in the living room. But which one is your favourite? Leave me a comment below and let me know. Maybe we'll do a poll as well on YouTube to really find out the winner. I hope you enjoyed following along with this project, and I've got a playlist of some other projects you might like as well. See you again.